Hi, welcome back to the show. My name is Cathey Armillas, and I'm so honored to be here with my good friend Patrick Galvin. Patrick is the author of The Connector's Way. This amazing book. I've read it myself. He's also the president, CEO. He started a firm called the Galvanizing Group back in 2002. Patrick, welcome. Thanks for being on the show
it's great
today.
To be here.
I'm so excited to be talking to you about your book because I read it when it first came out, and I love books like this. You created this book. It's a business parable.
Yes.
And well, first of all, tell me why you wrote the book.
Well, I love business relationship building, but there are only so many people I could work with. So I wanted to write a book that would help people build better relationships. Now, I started writing a nonfiction handbook. It's never a good sign if 10 pages in you're bored of your own book. I realized that the books I enjoy are business parables, like Patrick Lencioni, Og Mandino, Bob Berg.
Yeah.
And I realized I could teach people about business relationship building through a story. And I'm not a novelist, so actually everything actually happened to me or one of my clients. So they're true stories woven into a continuous narrative. Yes, with a twist. So it's a business guy who's struggling, and through a series of rather fortuitous events, he discovers that there's a much better way to grow his company, and it's through relationships and through some lessons he learns along the way. So I had a lot of fun with it, and there's a lot of stories there.
Oh my gosh, I love, that was the piece that kept me, and these are the kind of books like, you don't set it down until you're done. And I noticed when I went to write my review for you, because I genuinely read it and I loved it, and it was amazing. I saw that you have over 150 reviews now, right?
Yeah, 170.
170.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's very
And I know
exciting.
you've sold over 10,000 copies.
Yeah, this has been a big year for the book. So I wrote a book thinking these are simple lessons, but you know the funny thing is there's a lot of shiny objects out there when it comes to marketing and a lot of things that people think they have to do. But if people just focus on relationships, they're going to do great. And a lot of people have gotten away from some very simple lessons that are incredibly powerful if they're put into use.
I totally agree. I think that there was a time, a period, I think it started in the 80s sometimes, where it was like, we have to network, you have to network.
Right.
And again, it's kind of that twist on it, because you talk about everything being a connection, everything being a relationship.
Right. Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about that and where the twist off of like networking is.
Yeah, so networking in a lot of people's eyes is something that they don't like because it's kind of smarmy and they're sort of pushing themselves and they're dealing their business cards out there like blackjack dealers.
Right.
And that's the vision that a lot of people have of networking. And there's nothing wrong with networking as long as you do it the right way. If you're networking to serve people that you know, whether that's serving them by talking about things in a conversation when you meet them that they're interested in, or whether it's a deeper level where you're really helping them grow their own business. I think that's really where networking is useful. But I don't like the word because it's been polluted with the smarmy business card passing out.
For sure.
Yeah.
The people that do little drive-bys, they try to, they come up and they say, hey, nice to meet you, here's my card, and then, you know.
Right, yeah, I hate that.
Well, I'm so glad, and I know, personally, because you're in my mastermind group, and you know, we're in a professional mastermind group together, where professional speakers are getting together, and we're doing speaker stuff and talking about things that we do professionally. I know that I love to get emails from you. I always feel like you're writing the email directly to me, even if other people are in the group, because you do this really interesting thing where you always add a custom email line. You should tell us about that a little bit.
Custom subject line.
Yeah, custom subject line on the email.
Yeah, we started as a PR company 15 years ago, and as a PR person, you're competing for the attention of journalists. And most journalists don't open emails if they're from PR companies. So you always have to entice them. It's like offering candy. So I had not left those skills behind me. And it really is thinking about what would be interesting to that person, not what's interesting to me. And that's really, I think, the essence of good relationship building, is putting yourself in the shoes of the other. And in a very mundane thing like an email, like what would they find interesting? How could I grab their attention? How could they feel like this is speaking to me? And that, I think, is an effective email, whether that's a subject line or the content of an email for that matter.
Right. That's awesome. So in the book there's 7 rules, right?
Yes.
If I remember correctly.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me about one of the rules.
Well, my favorite is serve others without consideration of how you're going to benefit. I think there are way too many people out there who are tuned into WIFM, What's in It for Me. That is the radio station that too many people are focused on. But if you go out into the world and you really think, how can I be of service to others? Things come back to you. You know, I don't know if you want to use the term karma. It sounds very touchy-feely. But if you have that mindset of every time you connect with someone, offering something of value to them, whether that person pays you back in the sense of doing business with you or whether they refer you on, you don't know. But as long as you go out consistently with that mindset, all of the great salespeople that I know, all of the most successful folks in their careers, they're people who have that mindset of giving. And it really is kind of a nice thought that good guys and good girls can finish first. And I think a lot of times we think that it has to be trickier than that, but really it's very simple. Serve others, and ultimately you will benefit from it.
So the entire book is based around kind of that premise, which is really, I love that. There was another rule about letting other people be successful, and, right? And helping people become successful.
Yeah, you know, you want to really kind of reach out to them and allow them to grow. So it could be as simple as so many people are trying to create this cool social media presence for themselves. You know, the ultimate Facebook page, the ultimate Pinterest, Instagram, whatever it is. But really, that's cool for them. But I think you can gain so much more traction by going out, for instance, onto LinkedIn and recommending somebody without them asking for it.
Right.
I mean, how do you feel, how does anyone feel when something unsolicited comes in endorsing them, making them feel good? And there's not enough of that going on. So help other people grow and they will want to help you in return.
So yeah, and I love that. So tell me, when you go in and you do a talk
Right.
and you're going to a company, how does that work internally? Because some of what you're talking about seems to work well from like company to company or person to person, but tell me internally, how do you do that with organizations and companies?
Well, people need to serve their colleagues and coworkers. And I think everyone can kind of be scrambling also for their own career advancement. But when you start thinking in a relationship-centric way, it's not only for your external audience, you know, your clients, your prospects, what have you, but when you think, well, how can I be of service to other people on the team? And for instance, going back to this idea of recommending, I mean, you don't have to recommend a client or prospect, you can recommend a team member. And not enough of that's going on in corporate America where people really are lifting each other up. I mean, I think a rising tide will lift a workforce and lift a company up, and a lot of times people are so engaged in their own career advancement that they forget about that.
I love that. I love what you just said, because I've loved that saying.
That metaphor,
Yeah, the whole metaphor of when
it's a powerful one.
When the tide rises, all boats rise.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people do get a little cutthroat out there.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting thought to kind of pull this perspective back a little bit, get it off of the person and get it more onto the organization, and how can we all be successful?
Yes.
And if everybody's doing it, it's like 10 times more powerful, right?
Yeah, and I think once you have enough people engaged in that and that becomes the norm, then that becomes part of a company culture. And I see companies where people are more supportive of one another, and I think it's sort of the butterfly effect within a company.
Yeah.
You know, people start doing this for each other, and then you feel like you need to think along those lines. So I think it can be a very positive thing for businesses. And that's why companies will bring me in, not just to talk to people who are selling the company or their products and services, but also just to work together more cohesively.
Yeah, one thing I know you're good at, Patrick, is you're an influencer. And when you go and speak, I've spoken at conferences that you've spoken at, and people talk about you. Years later, they love you. So the one thing that I know that you help companies with is that big shift is changing a culture. And sometimes that's sometimes it's really tough to change the way people have thought. You know, sometimes you get into a company and people have worked there 10, 20, 30 years, and they've always had this mindset. So tell me like a good success story where, you know, you've kind of helped the company and making those connections
Well, I believe in Gandhi's statement, you know, be the change that you want to see. And I think there are a lot of great people in corporate America who just need to have their prism changed a little bit. So I've worked in industries that can be very competitive, like the mortgage industry, which is, you know, they have a listing of the top producers and, you know, who's on top of the food chain. And I think a lot of times just the way that industry ranks people can kind of create this sense of competition. But the reality is, you know, they have a brand name out in the marketplace, and if they support their fellow loan officers, well, you know, it's going to be good for the company. So I've gone back to mortgage companies and spoken multiple times because they see that spirit, when it's created, will actually allow people to lift each other up. And it's not just, you know, all about them. It's about how do we make this mortgage company better.
I love it too, because I can see the correlation between even within companies, but even personal, you know, business relationships and connecting, that it's short-term vision or short-term strategy versus long-term strategy.
Yeah, exactly.
And short-term is all about me. It's all about what I can do. It's all about where I can get. And the long-term is more like, how do I actually make a relationship for life? Whether I mean, even when you leave a company, right? I mean, it's
absolutely.
just everything.
Yeah,
it's
never
just
burn
about
a bridge. You know, That person may work for you. You may work for them again.
I know, is that funny?
You just never know. And I don't advocate a quick fix. So someone that's buying this book saying, what's the silver bullet for relationship building? You know what? There's not one.
It's not there.
There's no silver bullet. It's a series of actions. But what is the silver bullet, I think, is a commitment to it's all about the relationship. When you start from there, it'll be different depending on your industry or your personality, the personality of the people you work with or your clients, your prospects, what have you. But it's a mindset. And once you have a relationship mindset, I think that's really what it takes. And a lot of people just have not been taught that. I went to business school. I studied marketing, advertising. I didn't study relationship building. And I learned that it's all about the relationship. And I wasted lots of money on advertising, on shiny marketing objects, not focused enough on my customer. And that's really what got me into this whole subject of, how do you build a business? Well, it's through relationship. But I failed when I tried to do it through traditional MBA type activities. It didn't work for me. So I had to shift gears.
I have to put a pin on that. I actually have to say, did you hear what he just said? He said, like, it's all about relationships. So I love that. And I think if I were to even take everything that we've talked about today, and I mean, I know you and I know what you do.
Right.
I mean, you do it so well, and it really just goes back to that. So let me ask you just one more question.
Sure.
You have another rule in your book. I think it's the last rule, rule number 7. It's be grateful.
Be grateful, yes.
So tell me about that. Tell us.
I don't know if you've experienced this, but when you refer business to somebody and you don't hear from the person who got the referral from you, how do you feel?
Terrible.
It's awful, isn't it? But that happens way too much. So I don't want people to ever think I'm not grateful. So very simple for me, there's 3 things. I want to meet with someone who refers someone to me or who helps me. I want to meet with them face to face. This sort of connection that we have cannot be duplicated. Apple has the Animoji coming out on the iPhone 10. It's like, very cool, but nothing replaces the conversation, the connection. So meet with people, thank them, let them see gratitude, and also the best app on a smartphone is voice.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone more, talk to people. You get a referral, thank them. They can hear gratitude. And you know what? You can also ask questions like, why did you refer that person to me? What makes them a good source for me as a potential client? And then you can actually learn things about that person, things that you would never find out on Google. So being grateful, if you do it in a real world context, can actually provide so much information. It deepens your relationship with the person who made the referral. It gives you more information about the person referred to you, and it really closes that loop. And then I'm a big believer in thank you cards. Personal things, you do it really, really well yourself, is whether you meet face to face or on the phones, take the time to send a card.
Yeah.
It's that little stuff. It's the little things. You add up all these little things, and the cumulative effect of having a relationship mindset when you're building a business can be dramatic in terms of results.
Makes big things.
Yeah.
I love that.
Makes big things happen.
Makes big things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, thank you so much.
It was
This
fun.
is your. If I had to sum up everything that you said, it's you're like not only be grateful, thankful, help other people become
Yeah,
successful,
absolutely.
and build the relationship. No matter where you're at, no matter what the context is, just build the relationship.
Right, yeah.
And
just go forth with that attitude, and whatever your goals are, you're going to not only get to them, you're going to surpass them.
Yeah, yeah. So, Patrick, thank you so much for being here
Cathey.
today.
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
I love this. Again, build the relationship. Patrick's book, The Connector's Way. If you haven't read it, check it out. It's on Amazon. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and hope to see you again soon.